Hello and welcome to the Darknet RPG video blog. This is Scott Crossan, aka the Darknet, and welcome to my first setting breakdown, where I break down your setting and tell you what's good, tell you what's bad, tell you what I think of it. Real quick note, I've got a lot of feedback from the top 10 worst and best D&D settings. A lot of people don't agree with me, some do, some don't. No, it's my opinion. Anyway, I do thank you for all of the feedback, and let's start with the old man of D&D, Greyhalk. Now you might notice Greyhalk never made my top best or my top worst, and there's a few reasons for that. The first main reason is it's the original. It is really, Blackmore technically came out a couple of months, or was made a couple of months before it, but what's been published for Blackmore has just been schlock. So, but Greyhawk's so old, so original in the fact that it came out first. It deserves to be kind of judged on its own merits. So let's start breaking it down here. First and foremost, Greyhawk takes place on the world of Obrith and the continent of Flennis, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing them. If so, I'm sorry. But anyway, it is a Western European style fantasy setting. A lot of elements you'll see in that is a lot of elements you see in 100 other settings, most of which are kind of copies of Greyhawk, or copies of Greyhawk. It is a setting with countries, not city-states. So you get some pretty big ones. There's both good guy countries and bad guy countries. The culture is pretty generic Western European, but given the fact that it was created in the 70s, that's fine. There's, you can't really knock a setting for not innovating before the innovations were created. That just makes no sense. Anyway, the big thing about that is Greyhawk is a very, very, just kind of, in some ways, there now. It has been published on and off by TSR/Wizards since 1980. Currently, it is on hiatus. There is nothing that I have seen of any plans to actually bring it back. It was canceled pretty much right before 4th edition came out. Real quick, originality, like I said, it gets a complete pass. It did everything before everyone else did, so you can't really judge that against everything else. Playability, it's still a playable setting. It's got a decent pantheon if you're playing a cleric-like character. It's got some interesting adventure sites, like the Valley of the Mage. For adventures, they have been really hit or miss. Some of them are really, really, really awesome, and some of them are just complete schlock. So really, that's a mixed bag. If you're going to go get your 2nd edition fix on, go for the 1st edition modules, in my opinion, because those are the classics. You got stuff like Against the Giants and Tomb of Horrors, and a lot of those just classic modules. Real quick, for Metaplot, Greyhawk's always been weak on Metaplot. They had towards the end of the 2nd edition run, they did try to start bringing in some more Metaplot. Greyhawk had a series of wars, which were done as a board game actually, and it was a war game, and it was neat. It was an interesting idea. You could play out how the wars actually ended up. As for NPCs/villains, they do have some of the most iconic wizards in all of D&D. This is where you get Otto. This is where you get Tensor. But they do tend to keep the NPCs in the published stuff in the background and not running the show for the PCs, which is good. They do have some interesting villains. Ooze the Evil is He is in some ways kind of a discount Sauron, but he's still interesting enough, and he runs an evil empire, and he's a demigod, and it is kind of a nice homage back to Lord of the Rings and those style adventures. Um, for excuse me, for the big damn hero factor, which is always a big factor when I run. Greyhawk does do it right. I mean, I'll give Gygax the props that he deserves. He did know that you need to keep the PCs as the main characters. You need to not have everything that happens in the setting this major happen in novels. You need to have them happen in adventures. So they kept that feel the entire time, and that's really appreciated. Like every other setting, mileage does vary. I mean, a good GM will make Greyhawk awesome. A terrible GM will make it very milk toast. So just keep that in mind. That's why it didn't hit the best, and it also didn't hit the worst because it is very baseline. The third edition modules for Greyhawk were pretty interesting. Greyhawk did spawn one of the best organized plays ever, which was Living Greyhawk. I like the fact that was very community based. Unfortunately, it died a little bit before its time, and that's very sad. Other than that, I think that's pretty much my views on Greyhawk. Feel free to comment, vote me up, vote me down. Put your comments in the comment bar or box, and also feel free to suggest the next setting for the breakdown. This is Scott Crossan signing off. Hey, have fun and keep gaming.